Ever wonder how companies make headlines? Discover the secret behind crafting the perfect press release. Your press release is a golden ticket to the news cycle. In this video, we're going to discuss how to create a press release, what a press release is, when to distribute a press release, how to write that press release, pretty much anything else you can think of related to press releases. At the end of this, you should be an expert in press releases and pitching and be able to get your story covered in the news. So first off, let's just discover what is a press release. So a press release is just a platform for you to tell your story to the public. And basically, a lot of people call this a wire release, but you're gonna go ahead and pay someone, some platform to distribute a story on your behalf. Now, press releases typically go to thousands of outlets at the same time. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna go public facing, but also there's gonna be a back end side of that where it's gonna go across news anchors' desks. And so they'll typically see hundreds, if not thousands of press releases a day, and they'll analyze and take a look at which ones they're interested in, which ones hit specific keywords, whether it's local or national, and then they'll go ahead and create stories and cover those in the news afterwards. Now, I want to point out that there is a big difference between a syndicated, picked up, covered story, so a contributor writes a story, versus a press release. Typically, a press release is going to say press release somewhere on there, and at the bottom it'll be formatted very specifically, and at the bottom it'll have contact information. So if you have a PR team doing it, it'll be like contact Otter PR at X, Y, and Z. Now, that's the easy way to tell if a press release is published. And press releases are paid media. There are some really good benefits to press releases, especially when you have a grand opening, when you're doing something very innovative, when you have a new product or offering. Those are great times to do press releases. Also, if you're a publicly traded company, a lot of times you're required to do press releases when certain things happen because you need to make information public to the general consumer. So that way there's fair trade, all those fun things. First off, press releases can range anywhere from $30 to $50 to $3,000+. And the major difference on these wire releases is where they're getting distributed to. So if they're going to thousands of top tier sites, it's gonna be a more expensive press release. If you want MarketWatch, if you want Forbes, Entrepreneur, all of these platforms, a lot of them don't accept most press releases, but they will accept some. So that's typically what you're paying for when you're paying for that bigger distribution. So if you're paying $50, it most likely will have a smaller distribution than a $3,000 distribution. Now, I will tell you that we have spent $50 on press releases, I've spent $20 on press releases, I spent $3,000 on press releases. I have never seen a noticeable difference. Typically, if a story is getting distributed to all the major outlets anyways, and if it's gonna get picked up that way, it'll get picked up. I will say stay to the end to learn about pitching the media versus a press release, because that's really where we're gonna talk about the advantages of being more strategic. Now, if we jump to that screen share, I'll show you some of the top press release services. Any of these are good services. Again, the prices range and they do vary, so I don't wanna go through them in too much depth, but I will kind of go through a screen share of that entire process for you. So I'm gonna go from start to finish. A press release platform that we use that's a more affordable one. So typically, there's certain times where we'll want to use the more expensive ones. So for example, I know that Meltwater is one of the more expensive ones. You have to have an account with them. And they're one that'll allow you to do publicly traded companies. And that's a big one that a lot of things like the one I'm gonna show you first is AB Newswire. It won't let you do a press release on a publicly traded company. Some press release services won't let you do it on cannabis. They all have their own rules. And so you wanna make sure that you're following the rules, and typically it's pretty easy because they'll flag it and say you can't do this. And then you have to work around that. So here are some of the services. We're gonna start off with AB Newswire. It's probably one of the cheapest out there. You can see that they have really affordable bulk deals, single press releases. If you log in, this is just what the back end looks like. It's really simple. I think that when it comes to press releases, there's a big kind of, I don't know what it is, I don't know how to do it, it's so complicated. So it just looks like this. You're literally just gonna hit add a new press release. I've basically filled out one already with information that's already public. So this is a press release we did. This was when we bought a new building for Otter PR. If you guys don't know about Otter PR, we're one of the top ranked PR firms in the country. So this is what it looks like. We bought a new building, we got a photo here, and things that I wanna point out, because we're gonna talk through this, is how important the title is. You have your meta kind of subject title here, image description, and then at the bottom, you're gonna see the contact us information. So that's gonna be that standard press release. I have an outline here of in more depth, which we'll go through, and I will make sure to share this with you guys. You can use prompts to create these press releases, but typically you can't use 100% AI written content because it'll get flagged and taken down and it won't do as well. So anyways, you come in here, you select add a press release, you create that press release. So you just need title, your summary, and so I want you guys to actually see what this looks like. So obviously your title is your title up here, but your summary is just this section right here. So it's above the fold. Usually that will show in kind of the meta description a lot of times, depending on which release it is. Sometimes it's called meta description. This information is super valuable, and it's a lot of times all people read. So if you think about journalists who are seeing hundreds of press releases a day, they're gonna have alerts for specific things. So this article actually got picked up by a local station because they were looking at local St. Petersburg news. And so that's why they wanted that, is this was something that happened in the community. Their news outlet was about the community itself. You can upload an image, and you'll put your image description here. So that's basically just this. Upload your image. You can format this a little bit. They don't allow too much formatting. Some places will allow more photos, less photos. I just copied and pasted this press release because, again, it's already public information. Go through here, you'll pick the categories that best fit. You do want to stay specific to potential categories that it might get picked up in. So if your business services, don't pick agriculture, because no one in agriculture is gonna care. And that will affect where it's being distributed as well. Some more information here. So you're always gonna put in at least the required information here of your media contact. So ideally, press releases do better when you have a good media contact that is a media professional, for a couple reasons, but typically outlets just don't want to work with business owners because, to be honest, if you aren't good at crafting your story and quick at communicating, you're not going to get that story picked up, or it's just going to be difficult and it's going to be a pain. Whereas if you work with someone like Otter PR, what we do is we're very timely responsive. So if they reach out to us, we're usually, even on weekends and nights, they're getting an answer within an hour. So we have a night staff that picks it up, because sometimes their deadline is, hey, we need to get this published in the morning. It's a TV opportunity. We have an open spot. Please reach out, kind of thing. Meta description, that's just an SEO process. There is some SEO juice and value in doing press releases. I will say, not that much. It'll help if you've never done media before, if you've never been covered organically, if you're a brand new company, super valuable, things like that, where it is valuable. I've heard some people say that a press release can negatively hurt your SEO. I strongly disagree with that. I don't see any negative impact. There's links back to your site. They mostly do not follow, meaning there's not gonna be a lot of SEO value to it, but it can still drive traffic and can technically still bring in sales for you guys. Keywords, and then there's just some options here for premium upgrade. So that is as easy as it is to write a press release. I will say a lot of sites are very particular on how a press release is written. So while this might seem simple, the material and the content that is in there is really important. The style, their templated formats on how to write a press release, and I'll get to that kind of in the end. So EIN Newswire is a popular one. You can see it's a little bit more expensive, but honestly not that expensive. You will see, obviously, the price increases as you go, but $100 is not that expensive for a press release. Newswire is a highly popular one. Cision has their own as well. So you can see this one's a little bit more expensive, and there's discounted rates for obviously PR firms and things like that. Meltwater is one of the more expensive ones. Newswire, Cision is probably one of the more expensive ones. They do have some benefits, and you get a little bit more handcrafted information. A lot of our larger companies, when they come in, and our executive clients, they're getting the top tier press releases, so we're spending over $1,000 just to release this for them, and that's because of what our goals and expectations are. All right, so you can easily create a prompt with ChatGPT. I would use something similar to this to help you write that prompt. But prompts are only gonna be as good as the information you give in. So you really need a good company bio. You need to understand why you're writing that press release. You need a good quote, usually from a founder, a CEO, or investor, and other pieces of that. So the most important part of a press release with almost any kind of marketing is that headline. It's that 3-second hook. If you don't have that good hook, people are gonna lose interest. They're not gonna read the press release. So you need that hook, you need all that information. The next piece to it is the subtitle, which is what we talked about. And that, just so you guys can visually see, this is the subtitle right here. It's, if you had to summarize your entire article into a couple words, what would that be? That's your subtitle. All right, the next piece of it is just general information. You're gonna need city, you're gonna need date, all that kind of generic stuff. That still has to be in there because it's very important. A lot of press releases that do get picked up are because of location centric. Like I said, our press release was picked up because it was about St. Pete, it was St. Pete news, it was local, and people wanted to hear about it. The next section here is just your introduction. Now, it's really important that you stay clear and concise when you write this press release. I know a lot of them have limits on how long you can write them. I'd say almost the shorter the better. Your intro is kind of like company bio, what's happening, what's new and different about this. So St. Petersburg PR firm buys downtown corporate office. That tells the entire story, and then it allows you to go in more depth into basically that paragraph. So the body of that, where you're gonna talk more about the context, about the company, ideally, like I said, a quote, and you can give a little bit more of the generic information, the fluff, the things that you're hoping people will cover. But that's where you're explaining stuff, and in the top part, that intro is that, again, another opportunity for that hook. All right, so boiler point is just kind of a brief summary of what's going on, and then you have your call to action. Now, with all types of marketing, you want a call to action. A lot of times for press releases, it's just, reach out to learn more information and write about this, but you can do it sales. If you have a grand opening, stop by for this promotion. A lot of outlets will allow you to do things like that. So you wanna make sure that your call to action is clear and concise, and people know what their next step is if they get to the end of that. Maybe it's just go to their website, go to the website to learn more, go to Amazon to shop, whatever it is. Same thing with marketing, that call to action is critical. All right, so I wanna wrap this up with really talking about when to use a press release versus a pitch. So for you that don't know, obviously the press release is what we just went through. It's something going to the wire, it's public information, and what I view a pitch as is a direct communication with a journalist or an editor to get something covered. There are pros and cons to both. Pitches are more advanced and more complicated, whereas you spend $50, you get a press release out there. But press releases typically will not get picked up unless you're a big national company. It's truly breaking news, doing something innovative, and people are actually following your company. If you're a company like Disney or Apple, anything like that, a press release is absolutely gonna get picked up, where if you're a smaller business, it might not. And that's where pitches become so important. At Otter PR, in our firm, we've learned how to pitch stories that would not get picked up with press releases. Now, part of that is looking at trending news, and there's a lot of strategy behind pitching. But instead of just throwing this out and hoping people are interested, what you wanna do is find a journalist who would be very interested in writing that. You can do a whole bunch of research, you can use databases like Cision and Meltwater to find their contacts, and then you curate a custom pitch to them. So you wanna be talking directly to them, and you can do that through email, sometimes phone numbers, Twitter. Sometimes you can find their address and you can do direct mail and do kind of what they call nowadays, everyone's calling it a PR gift, PR package. That's really what you wanna do. So I actually recommend typically doing both. You wanna do a press release and a pitch on that story to really focus on getting it picked up. The majority of our success is more in the actual pitching than the press release, but they do work together, and a lot of times we'll do a pitch and include the press release so they can learn more information. I really hope you guys enjoyed content like this. If you did, please make sure to subscribe and leave comments for more videos you wanna see. Thank you.